So good evening, and we'll now go ahead with our lecture for today. And one more very important thing we saw last class, we saw about this IS codes. You remember we told that there is a particular site which you can visit, which gives you the details of like from where you can download the Indian standards. Okay, so these standards govern the way an engineer is expected to work. These are the rules with which the engineer works. So, how many of you actually tried to open an Indian standard? Thank you. I'm very happy. In fact, you're having standards for the building drawing also, which you would have done in the last class, okay, in the last semester. Now, in this class, we are going to work with a very important product called cement. Okay. Now, how many of you have seen cement? Okay. All have seen. Okay. In what format have you seen cement? Huh? It's a powder form. Okay. How is it packed and how is it distributed? Sorry? No. In sand. Okay. No. How does it come to you? If I want to buy in sacks. Okay. In bags. What is the weight of one bag of cement? 50 kg. Okay. 50. Okay. Now, all this is fundamental, as you all know. I am very happy. It makes my life so much easier. Okay. Now there is another way also cement is being transported and distributed, which is known as a bosher. Okay, bosher is a huge truck which will have a shape like a bullet, big bullet. Okay, it looks like a bullet. That's called a bosher. It is filled into that bosher using compressed air, using pneumatics. It is brought into that container. To take it out also they use a container. Then they store it in silos. Okay. Now, have you heard of this ready mix concrete? How do you see ready mix concrete being transported? Big trucks. It's like a big cement mixer mounted on a truck. It goes from point A to point B. Okay, now where does this truck discharge its material? We'll go from backwards. Where does this truck discharge its material? In the construction site. From where does it come? From the batching plant. Exactly. Okay, it starts from a place called a batching plant and then it goes to the site. Now in a site, in a huge construction site, you will have what are known as silos. You will have what are known as silos. Now these silos store the cement and then they move around the product. Okay. Now before come in, please come in. So now it is 3:09. Okay. Sir, right. Now these are some of the cement products which you are familiar with. If you don't know any of these, you are welcome to ask question. If you have not seen any of these cement products, you can ask. Right. The reason I wanted to show you these is these are some of the or few of the cement products which you generally use. These are few of the cement products which you generally use. Now, it's a very versatile product, and please sit down. We were having a lecture by one of the people from Ramco Cements. So they were telling that cement is the second most consumed product in the world. Okay, so what is the first most consumed product? Water. Okay, then he told that I will not ask you the questions because it's not my question. India is the second largest consumer of cement. Okay, we are consuming around 300 million tons of cement per year. Okay, the largest is China with about 1 billion tons of cement being consumed per year. Unimaginably large numbers. Okay, unimaginably large numbers. So if you look at it, it is beating even your rice consumption, your wheat consumption, and any other product consumption. Even your computers are not consumed at the rate at which we civil engineers are consuming the product called cement. Okay, so it means also that this is one of the most important product about which you need to have an understanding. Okay, again, if you're going to think about savings for your company, how are you going to save? By saving the product which you are going to use the most. Instead of using 100 bags, we're using 90 bags. Then there is something very nice in the way you are working. Okay, so this cement, as you rightly pointed, it's a fine powder. This powder reacts with water, and the product is a slurry which sets into a hard material. This hard material may be a mortar of cement or what we call as concrete. When it depends on what you put in with the cement, that you call the end product. Okay, it's just a plaster. It might be a hollow block which you press and get. It may be a paver block, and then it's so versatile. The pipes are got by spinning the concrete. Okay, you got something, you spin it. So because of the centrifugal force, it is or centripetal force, it just goes and gets coated on the material. This is called spun pipe, and this is the way you do the spun pipes. Okay, so this material is it's so versatile that it doesn't mean that you have to use it only in a particular way. Okay, so this cement, have you studied it in chemistry? Have you studied the chemistry of cement in your first year by any chance? Okay, in that case, you can. Okay, it's called what's known as the Bogues components. For understanding, you have a look at it. There are a few compounds which are formed in between, which in the end forms your hardened paste. Okay, but anyway, I'll come to that. Maybe I'll bring it in a lecture form in the next class. Okay. Now look at this. This is the way you make cement. This is the general flowchart of production of cement. And let me just get the laser pointer on here. Fine. So first and foremost, you need a large deposit of limestone. Okay. So that is being transported, crushed, and then it's brought to a place where you are going to mix it with sand, clay, and some other components like a little bit of iron. Okay, and some other materials which makes concrete or cement what it is. Okay, and then they preheat. Okay, they grind all this material, they get a nice powder which they again heat. They superheat it in a kiln, then they cool it. The cooled product, okay, this is called when it goes through the kiln, it forms what is known as clinker. Okay, so this clinker is cooled. After it is cooled, it is ground. The degree of fineness to which you grind the cement powder changes the properties, changes many properties. Okay, now to give an idea of what actually happens when you grind, okay, to finer particles, just imagine you've got a 1 meter cube of material. This is a very common example, I'm sure you know it. So what is the surface area of this? 8 square meters. Okay, what is the volume of this? What is the volume of this? It's 1 meter cube, 1 meter on all sides. Okay, now if I'm going to make it into 4, what is the surface area? So you can keep dividing. So it means the finer you grind a particle, volume is the same. However, what is increasing? Surface area is increasing. Because the surface area is increasing, you are going to find that the way it is going to, the reaction area increases greatly. This is just a point for you to keep in mind. So what I just spoke is given here. First you mix calcareous, that is calcium based, and argillaceous material. You burn them together, you cool them, then you grind them into powder, and then you get it. Okay, so usually some alumina and iron oxide are also added to this powder. So all these together, and sometimes you also add material that change color. Okay, now what is the color of cement? What is the normal color of cement? Grey. But have you heard of something called white cement? JK White, the whitest white cement. Okay, so actually speaking, you can get even colored cements. You can get cements of any color. What is the benefit of that? for instance, if you remember that paver blocks which you saw, red and yellow, the red color is already there. You don't have to paint it. It is intrinsic. It is homogeneously made red. So even if the top layer goes, it's still going to be red after it gets worn out. It wears out a little, still it is red. Still it is yellow. Okay. So this adds the decorative value of cement. Okay. Now and what happens actually is you can call cement is also like a it's in frozen equilibrium. You heat it, superheat it, then you cool it. So it's something like glass. Even glass is a supercooled fluid. Steel is a supercooled fluid. And this cement, what you have cement, that is also like in a frozen equilibrium. When you add water to this substance, it forms many intermediate components and then it becomes what it is. Okay. Now these are the basic components of cement. We told there are some argillaceous and cement calcareous materials. So tricalcium silicate, dicalcium silicate, and what they are responsible for is also given in this slide. Okay. Now okay, please don't take. I'll upload these slides. So I hope you find it useful. Now these are the types of cements which we have. Okay, we got ordinary Portland cement, we got Portland pozzolana cement, and Portland slag cement. Okay, so suppose you add what are known as pozzolanic materials. Pozzolanic materials essentially volcanic materials, or slag. What is slag? When you smelt iron, you get some waste products which cannot be used. Initially they were just dumped, but now they find that if you add it to your cement, you get very good properties. You have a read on why they call this Portland. Essentially because Portland is a place from where cement initially originated, so they are calling it Portland cement. Ordinary Portland cement is the original cement where nothing was done. It's what cement is was expected to be. So that's what we call them. And these are the major classification of cement which is sold in India. But today we are not restricting ourselves to all these types of cements. We are having what are known as blended cements. Okay, blended cements try to get the best of both the worlds. Cement by itself has a very bad habit of heating up. In fact, you should never take cement in your hand and put it in water. The moment cement gets in contact with water, the reaction starts and it's an exothermic reaction. What's an exothermic reaction? The reaction liberates a lot of heat. So you can probably test it out to see whether it's what I'm telling is true. But be careful, you can burn your hand. It is that bad. Okay. So when you are going to mix concrete, it means that we are starting to have a hydration process. This is called the heat of hydration. Now we talked about the effect of frost on rocks. What did we say? Even if suppose there's a slight expansion because of water, the rock itself can crack. Here what happens is you are putting cement, concrete, you are putting it inside a formwork and restraining it. What is it trying to do? Because of the heat it's trying to expand, but the outer cooler surfaces are trying to push it into place. So there is a lot of interaction between the two. One is fighting to become big, another is saying don't become big. So this causes many cracks to form in fresh concrete. Okay, or the concrete is just getting hardened. So we find that it's very difficult to to control this heat of hydration. So what do you do normally after you concrete your house? We pour a lot of water. Okay, one of the reasons we pour water is to keep it cool. One of it is to keep it cool. Another thing is, if suppose it requires the setting process also requires a little bit of water, that is also going to be taken care of. Okay, maybe we may not be talking much about concrete in this course, but as a general principle, please remember that you have many ways by which you do it. So some of the things is you tie up jute bags to columns, keep it damp. You have seen the way the people in AC were doing what they are doing to their boat. They are trying to keep it cool. But you know, in spite of all that effort they took, they are confessing that there were cracks in the concrete which they made. Very simple. If you are going to increase your cement content, it doesn't mean you are making a building stronger. plain and simple. If you are adding more cement, heat of hydration is going to become more. Be it any material, concrete based material you are taking, this fundamental principle holds true. So please remember, when you are going to mix concrete, just because you feel okay, cement is the material that gives strength, it is not happening. Reason, heat of hydration. That's why they are having this low heat cement and other things. Sulfate and chloride are very dangerous materials for concrete. And another very dangerous material is sugar. Sugar is a very dangerous material for concrete. If you look at the code book, they'll say that jute bags can be used for curing concrete, but this should not have had sugar. Bags which stored sugar are not suitable for curing concrete. It means that even a very small amount of sugar, if it is there in the concrete, it will have a very deleterious effect, very dangerous effect. It will affect the setting process. It will not let the setting process. We told it's a huge chemical reaction. Just like a catalyst, this will become like an impurity in the chain. This makes the process, it acts as a very good retardant. It acts as a retardant. Okay. It also means if suppose you are taking a huge batch of concrete and your mixer gets stuck, add a little sugar to the mix, sweeten it, it's not going to set. Okay, one of the biggest challenges which people face when you are having a batching plant is breaking down of a truck. If a truck breaks down in the middle when it's going, the mix, if you stop, even when you are mixing, the mix will start to harden. Okay, so they'll try to add more water, they'll try to add some retardants to keep it from setting. However, if it sets, the entire drum, it will be cheaper to throw it and get a new drum. Okay, so this is another point which just passed my mind. These are the physical characteristics of cement: fineness of cement, soundness of cement, setting time, and compressive strength. Now, we have been promising a lot of homework, right? Lot of assignments, online assignments, but nothing has materialized till now, right? Don't worry, we are going to start it, but please be sure that these are questions that you are going to answer. What is fineness? How you measure it? What is the testing procedure? What is soundness? What is the testing procedure? And stuff like that. Setting time, I think you will understand from the word itself, but first you are new. And what is compressive strength? Okay. Now, these are the, by the way, this I'm handling concrete technology lab in this semester. Okay, so most of the students there are recording what they are doing and making videos. I told them that those videos are going to be shared with you people. Maybe I can make you the judges. You can go through all the videos which my 5 groups say, and then you can say this batch has given me a lot of information. Okay, I can do that. That will make it a little more interesting. So they also learn, they have to learn a lot, and you are going to say, yes, I learned because of this person's interaction. We'll do that. Right, now coming here to durability characteristics. Choice of cement is based on the durability aspect, functional requirement, and design parameter and speed of construction and environmental constraints. We'll go through this a little bit. Durability characteristics are inbuilt into some cements. Some cements are stronger than others, mainly because they are able to resist certain actions which will be acting on them. Some of them are stronger intrinsically. Okay, so because of that they are better. Because they are stronger, they are better. Then, so that makes them more durable. So what causes durability issues to concrete, to cement? Basically, just like how I told, sugar is a material that can cause damage. Chlorides and sulfides can make, so sulfates can cause damage to concrete. These two are bad materials. Okay, so these are present in the soil. And where is your foundation resting? Hey, don't worry, don't feel shy. It is soil. Okay, and if suppose you are building a harbor, okay, where is it resting? What is in touch with it? salt water. What is this salt? Chloride. So you have no choice. You cannot say, look boss, you are giving me a work in sea. Cement doesn't work there. I will not do it. Will it work? You cannot say that. So you need to, so this salt content is a causes durability issue, which you overcome by using the appropriate cement. So you choose a cement which will resist it. So functional requirement is, for instance, for instance, this low heat cement. Okay, if you are going to make a dam, the base of the dam is going to be 6 meters minimum. I am calling it minimum. That it can be much bigger also. Okay, so how are you going to fill such a huge mass of concrete and keep it cool? Okay, so you need to use a cement which will be appropriate for that. In fact, for such a situation, what they do is they use ice instead of water. So when you add ice, what happens? When the heat of hydration is generated, the ice will try to cool it and then become liquid and mix up. Then they have special pipes running through a dam. They pump water through, cool water through the pipe, and it will come back as hot water. So they keep circulating water also. This is just one example. Okay, so if suppose you are going to have a concrete which has to flow very easily when you are pumping concrete. Okay, so you have to choose a right kind of mix, and the cement also plays a very important role in what you are going to do. And another major function of cement is it has to be strong enough for the work it is going to be used for. Okay, so this is another function. So I have a few what shall I say, applications which we'll do in the next few slides. So what do we mean by design parameter? We told that mixes are designed. A concrete is not just put three materials are not added together and you just add as much water as you like what you see on the road. Please believe me, that is a very wrong way of doing a concrete. You don't make it as you like it. Here you will know what is the kind of material which is going into it. That is, if the aggregates are of a particular size and of a particular arrangement, then your cement content as well as the sand content will vary. Again, in the sand, you have to know what is the size variation of the particles, because the strength of concrete is there are big particles between which you put in smaller particles, and in between that you fill it with cement, and sometimes you go for micro particles also which are smaller than cement, which fill up even those gaps. Okay, so this sort of thing is designed. So you say how much if I put, I will get the target strength or target performance. Target performance can be even flowability, like whether it is going to be pumpable. If suppose you make a very stiff concrete, you cannot pump it. Got it? So like this, and there are other techniques like slip form technique and all this, where the formwork itself will keep moving up. And those of you came and saw that video on high-rise buildings, right? You would have got an idea of what the slip form technique is, or how the building is itself going up. The formwork is going up with the building. Okay. Another important thing is the speed of construction. Means if you are going to construct fast, your concrete has to set much faster than other concrete. So that again comes into the picture here. And environmental constraints are, if suppose you are working in a very cold environment, if you are pouring concrete, the water is freezing. Is there any water available for the chemical reaction? No water is available for the chemical reaction. So this is something which I will call, which is an example of an environmental constraint. Now, cement is sold in bags. Have you seen 33 grade, 43 grade, 53 grade? So if you see it, 33 grade is 33, it has to get 33 Newton per millimeter square after 28 days of curing. 43, 53, etc. is just the same. So initially there was only one grade, 33 grade. It was what was used for normal application. Now look at this point. Grouting ducts in pre-stressed concrete works. Pre-stressed concrete means you put a layer concrete, then you'll have a space in between where you put a wire. This wire is having very high tensile strength, so you can pull it, you stretch it, and then you release it. You know what happens with a rubber band, right? If I take a rubber band and put it in a matchbox, it will keep pushing the matchbox inside. Same thing this will be doing. So what happens is, when you put, you will understand what pre-stressed concrete does maybe in a little, after you do your strength of materials class, it will make more sense. But there will be a duct, there will be a space between this high strength wire and the concrete. This space is filled with grout. Grout is nothing but a cement and water mix with probably a little bit of sand, which you can pump into the gap, and then it will gain strength. Okay, so usually this 33 grade cement is only used for that. Normally we are using a lot of 43 grade cement. Okay. So the other thing is 53 grade. So PSC is the pre-stressed concrete work for bridges, roads, multi-story buildings. You use this. You have a cement called Portland slag cement. You got a type of cement called Portland slag cement, which is used in marine and offshore structures. So where chloride content and sulfide content is more, this particular cement is used. This Portland slag, this slag is nothing but your blast furnace slag, which is taken mixed with your other raw materials, ground, heated. That clinker is again formed. Again, that clinker is ground into fine powder, which is called cement. Okay, so such a cement is called Portland slag cement. So this is where it is used, and this is the Portland pozzolana cement. This is another type of cement. Hydraulic and marine means if suppose you're doing dam-like structures or bridges, you will prefer to use Portland pozzolana cement. Then you got a sulfate resistant cement. Please remember, sulfate resistant cement is useless if chloride is also present in the soil. Okay, if chloride is also present in the soil, it is absolutely useless. Okay. So these are some of the other kinds of cements which you have. Low heat cement. You can understand what low heat cement is. It doesn't give as much heat of hydration as normal cements. Then you have rapid hardening cement, where you get where the setting process is very much accelerated. For instance, if suppose you are going to do in a water-like environment, you need it to harden very quickly, right? Underground concreting is being done, so it has to harden much faster than the normal cement. And then you got some other special cements which are produced as per demand. For instance, for doing the railway sleepers, no, they have some certain specifications. And then of course you got international codes also which tell how cement is to be done. Okay, so some projects might require special characteristics. For instance, you are doing a petrochemical plant. The normal cement will be reacting with the chemicals which are there in the atmosphere. Is it going to help? Definitely that cement cannot be used. So you will be changing the properties before you go. So this is what we mean by special grade cements. Okay. So with this I will say thank you and close this lecture. I think we went rather fast, but now it is already 3:40. I want to have 5 minutes of discussion with you all.